What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team career mode. We're here for round 15 of season 4 of our Jaguar racing career, and we are going to be at Monza for our second race in Italy this season. Now, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, it didn't go terribly for us, but it certainly could have gone a lot better, and I'm going to be hoping that we can score some strong points in Monza to make up for that and have at least one good Italian race this season. The previous race we did was the Belgian Grand Prix, and as you can see from that email that flashed up on the screen, and now we're looking at our engine, we had a mechanical failure. Internal combustion engine broke down, a couple laps to go. A little bit disappointing because, you know, we were running in P2, we were potentially competing for the win. That's absolute bollocks what I've just said there. We were down in P14. We were on an awful strategy. It was terrible, and honestly, it kind of allowed me to get away with having a really awful race and not feel too bad about it. But what it does mean is that we are now 12 points down in the championship on Lando Norris, I believe. So we're going to need to have a good race here in Monza if we want to get back at him in the championship. We have an event there. Kevin Magnussen taking part in some F1 esports, which I've permitted. I usually don't do those if it's going to increase driver acclaim, because it means you have to pay more to sign them, but I've pretty much known since about race number 3 this season that Kevin Magnussen was going to be a one and done with us. So yeah, actually that's a good point. If you're regular viewers of the series, then do make sure to comment down below. Let me know who you would like to see racing for our team next season. I definitely still have Yuki Tsunoda on my shortlist. He's been very good again this season. The 2 Alpine drivers again have been quite good, although I feel like I'm starting to drift away from them perhaps. And I've been thinking about potentially signing somebody like Felipe Drugovich, maybe even Jack Doohan, try and poach him from McLaren while he's still quite cheap, because he's been very, very impressive for them in the 3 races that he's driven for them so far, and we'll see if he can continue impressing for them here in Monza. But we have quite a few things to get through before we get to the race itself. We've obviously got practice, we've got qualifying, and hopefully those will go well for us. Monza is always a track that I don't know, I always seem to struggle at quite a lot when it comes to outperforming the cars around me. I never seem to get the requisite amount of straight line speed down the straights that we need. Even when I'm running quite low downforce setups, it still just doesn't seem to work out for me for whatever reason. So I'm hoping that this can be a bit of an exception here today, and we might actually be able to get a decent result. Last season, if I'm not mistaken, we played a big old game of DRS chicken at the Parabolica, deliberately gave up the track position to get the DRS into the Parabolica, and then re-overtook the cars on the pit straight. So we might have to do a similar thing here today. My pace was not pretty good in practice. It definitely left a lot to be desired, although I actually was finding my braking points a little bit better than I thought I would. You know, this is a track when you're dealing with a car like mine where the brakes aren't fantastic. It is very, very hard to find the right braking point, especially down into turn 1. You're arriving at, you know, 230 miles an hour or something like that by the time you get to turn 1. It can be very difficult to find the right braking point, but I was finding it fairly consistently, so I was quite happy with that, and hopefully we can continue doing that throughout qualifying and also once we get into the race. But yeah, we will see whether that proves to be the case or not as we start out in Q1 on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, coming around the Parabolica, or the Curva Alboreto as it's now known. But to everyone it will always be the Parabolica, I think. And we do a 1:17.7. That's not very good. We're behind Hulkenberg and just ahead of Tsunoda there. We probably will need to improve on that if we want to make it through to Q2, you would have to imagine. We do about okay enough even without improving our time to make it so that we would have got through. We would have been P16, but we improved by almost 6/10. There's a 1:17.1. And we are through now in P12 instead, but still, that was what I felt was a pretty good lap. So for that to only be P12 is a little bit concerning, actually. You know, a few drivers in the 1:16.9s, could I get there? Possibly, I don't know. But yeah, we do make it through for now, at the expense of Tsunoda, Joe, Fittipaldi, Lawson, De Vries and Stroll. Sargent doing pretty well there. He even outperformed Ocon and Magnussen. A little bit concerning there from Magnussen all the way in 14th. So hopefully he can out-qualify at least both of the Hasses, if nobody else. You know, I wouldn't want him to be behind Logan Sargent. Otherwise, we'd really have to have a think about whether Magnussen belongs in this team. But like I said, we're getting rid of him anyway at the end of the season. I think that is well documented at this point. Not really much of a surprise. So yeah, we will see what we can do now in Q2. That was on a used set of soft compound tyres. We do a 117.3. That is not going to be good enough to get us through. We're already down into P12 and we haven't even started our second run yet. We're all the way down in P15 by the time that we actually get onto the second run. And we've only gone 0.3 faster. I think we probably need at least another tenth or two. So this is going to have to be one hell of a final corner here at the Parabolica if we're going to have any chance of improving. And unfortunately, I just try and go a little bit too hard, and we end up losing a couple tenths. And there's going to be less than 1/10 improvement, 117.2, and that will not surprise you to learn that we are out in Q2 for the first time in a while. We are P14. Very, very disappointing. We only out-qualified the Hasses there, and we did not manage to out-qualify any of the other drivers in the top 7 teams, including our teammate Kevin Magnussen, out-qualifying us with a 116.8, but he is also out in P12, and then we say goodbye to Verstappen and Sainz as well there. So yeah, we will be taking no further part in qualifying. Meanwhile, my title rivals, Piastri, Perez, Norris, all of those guys will be taking part in Q3 and potentially challenging for pole position and challenging for the win tomorrow. But I would say that it's going to be a struggle for me to even score points in the race. Never mind compete for, the top 5, the podium, even the win. That might be a little bit too much to ask. So I think, unfortunately, we're probably going to have to just try and settle for the fringes of the points. See what kind of damage limitation we can do. Hopefully we can at least get some points to make sure that Lando Norris doesn't go steaming off ahead in the championship. Like I said, he currently sits 12 points ahead of us. By the end of this weekend, if things don't go well for us, that could be almost 40 points, the gap between myself and Norris. So we need to do as much as we can to avoid that happening if possible, and yeah, try and just maintain the gap as low as it can possibly be. But from 14th on the grid, if we get a good start, I reckon we could be sort of maybe into 10th or 11th by the first corner, and then after that, maybe, just maybe, we could challenge for some points. But we'll see what we can do as we get into the Italian Grand Prix.
Monza, the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. Today we look forward to the Italian Grand Prix. The Rettifilo, Ascari, Curva Grande, the Parabolica, names to get you excited. This is Monza, where we are full throttle for 80% of the lap. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. It's Sergio Perez on pole today, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Russell, Doohan, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Norris, Albon, Ocon, Hauger, Verstappen, Magnussen, Sainz, Robinson, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Joe, Fittipaldi, Liam Lawson, Stroll, and Nick de Vries rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And Anthony Davidson joins us for this one. And great to have your company. There's no weather to worry about here. What will be going through the drivers' minds as they finish these last-minute preparations?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, very disappointing to be down in P14, and no grid penalties applied to anybody else either. So it looks like we're going to be doing a soft medium strategy here. I was a little bit reluctant about this one actually, because I was thinking to myself, I don't really feel like the softs are going to be very good for very long at all here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we really struggle compared to the cars around us after about 4 or 5 laps. But nonetheless, both strategies they offered me suggested I started on the softs, so I decided I would just go for it, and we'll see what we can do. You know, everyone around us is starting on the softs. Drivers in the top 10 will probably be on the mediums if I had to imagine, since they'll have used all of their sets of softs. But yeah, we had a fresh set still available, so that's the one we're going to be using here. I had my life flash before my eyes there when I saw the red flash up, but fortunately we didn't get our parking reset, And so we will see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out as we switch to the replay camera. And some drivers have had a very poor getaway. I've had a pretty good one. I am the one on the outside there. You can see that has just dived into the middle here. I'm going to try and squeeze behind. I believe this is Albon and Doohan. But unfortunately, I just fall slightly behind them. I think it's actually Norris and Doohan, now I've said that. But nonetheless, yeah, we've had to just fall behind them. I had to brake early into the corner. Otherwise, I would have gone sailing into the back of somebody, I would imagine. But we are actually right on the back of Lando Norris. I'm not sure what position we're in right now. I think we're in I was going to say in P9, but actually we've just done a double overtake on these guys. And I think that has promoted us up into... I think this is P6 we're in now. So maybe we're in P8 before that double overtake. But in any case, yeah, we've overtaken Norris. We've overtaken Doohan. And we're actually not running in a bad position at all. I did not see this coming whatsoever. We've made up 8 positions on the opening lap here so far. I am pretty elated with that, I can't lie. I really thought that we were going to be maybe 11th or 10th or something like that off the start. But instead, we've managed to find our way all the way up to P6, and hopefully now we can start closing down some of the cars ahead of us, and yeah, hopefully make our way through the field and up the order even further if we can. They're battling away in front of us, I believe. You can see there, 4-car battle. It is Albon, the 2 Red Bulls of Russell and Perez, and Oscar Piastri all fighting away there. So maybe we can get ourselves involved in this fight a little bit and try and maybe get ahead of one of these guys. You can see Albon has had a pretty poor run through that first chicane, and now maybe the time has come for us to try and close him down, get ahead of him. Albon, he needs to start having some good results this season in this Mercedes. You know, they brought him in to replace Théo Pourchaire, and he is definitely not doing even as good as Théo Pourchaire was doing, never mind better. So yeah, I would say a big flop by the Mercedes recruitment team there to get Albon on board. We did eventually get ahead of him, as you saw there, but he does re-overtake us into the Parabolica. No DRS yet, and so this is going to be quite difficult to try and re-overtake him into the first chicane. When I get some DRS, it might be slightly more straightforward, but for now, I think the bigger thing we've got to worry about is Jack Doohan directly behind us, who is going to try and go for a move up the inside, but he's going to get covered off by Alex Albon, and Alex Albon is going to leave a perfect gap here for us to go sailing round the outside, and we're going to have the inside at the exit of the chicane, and that is going to allow us to take P5 back off Alex Albon. And yes, we are in the top 5 once again now as we begin the 3rd lap of the race. But I am sure that there will be plenty more action to come over the course of the next 24 laps. You can see that there's still some battling going on with the cars in front. However, not quite enough for me to really get involved there. And as we fast forward a few laps onto lap 7, you can see that I've kind of found my way into a bit of a no man's land. Albon and Doohan were battling away behind me. The battling in front kind of eased up a bit, and so they started pulling away. And here I am, 2 seconds ahead of Alex Albon, 4 seconds down on Oscar Piastri. Maybe this will be a very straightforward P5 finish. We're, what, 3 or 4 positions ahead of Lando Norris right now, so we will be outscoring him and closing down the gap in the championship to him, which would be absolutely fantastic. However, as we make our way to the end of the lap, you can see Alex Albon has caught up with us. He's caught up that 2-second gap. That goes to show how slow I am around this circuit, eh? Look at that. I did a 1:21.3 on that lap. You can really see the effect that the tyre wear is having now as we make our way onto lap 8. I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Albon starts going for a few overtakes. And indeed, as we come on the run to the Parabolica, I'm going to have to start using my signature tricks here. We've allowed Albon to get through on the run into the Parabolica, but we have such bad grip that through the Parabolica, he breaks away by about half a second, and we are going to have a really, really good run here on the exit of the Parabolica with the straight line speed. We're going to try and close him down. He defends to the inside. I don't know why he did that. Maybe he was worried about the threat from Doohan, who was looking like he was going to overtake me. And so to the inside, we actually bang wheels with him a little bit, but I was entitled to some space, and somehow we have managed to take that position back off Alex Albon. Don't ask me how, but we are back up into P5 once again as we come to the end of lap 9 here. Alex Albon is going to try and battle me back here though, and indeed I go a bit deep into the chicane. I don't know how I've held on to the position there, but I have. and that's all that really matters. So as we make our way through the lap now, we are going to get to the end, into the final sector, and I wouldn't be surprised if I go for my usual shenanigans here. However, we might not have things all our own way, because it looks like Doohan wants to get involved, and maybe Gasly as well. You can see that there is only about a tenth separating about 4 cars here. It is absolute chaos. I would love to see what this looks like on the replay cameras, but I don't think I got any footage of that specifically. Albon briefly got ahead of us. We managed to dance back around the outside of him in the Parabolica. Gasly going for a move up the inside. We're going to try and sail back around the outside of him, which switches to the inside for the exit of the chicane, as it always does, and that has allowed us to hold on to P5. But I've decided I am going to box at the end of this lap, I think, because I'm just struggling so much on these soft compound tyres. I can't get the car slowed down, especially into turn 1. I'm having to brake so early. The tyres have no grip, so at the end of lap 10, we are going to be coming into the pit lane. But first, we're going to have one more tussle with Pierre Gasly. If he does overtake us here, it's not the end of the world, because I imagine that we're going to pretty significant undercut on him, but we will see just how that looks as we round the final corner. We do battle away with him a little bit there, and do manage to just about keep the position. For some reason, it didn't process that I want to come into the pits, but here we are nonetheless. Hopefully they're ready for me, and I'm going to be putting on a set of hard compound tyres, I've decided. I'm not convinced that the mediums are going to be able to do 17 laps effectively, and I also figure, you know, I was on soft compound tyres that were pretty much slower than the cars I was racing with for a significant portion of that. They're all starting on the mediums, and they will be going on to the hards. So the worst situation I'll find myself in is that I will be on the same compound of tyres as the cars I'm racing with. And for that reason, I'm saying that it will probably be okay, and I think that this is probably the correct strategy to make sure that we can actually get to the end with minimal complications. Make our way to the end of lap 11 now, and you can see the first cars are coming into the pits. Carlos Sainz becomes the first to do so, and Lance Stroll is also going to follow him in. Let's see where we are in relation to Carlos Sainz, because I believe he was part of that train that we had behind us, just a little bit further down compared to the rest of them. Of course, he started on the softs, being somebody who also got knocked out in Q2, and the gap to him at the moment we're about to see is going to be 5.4 seconds at the end of lap 12. And at the end of lap 12, I had caught up with Nick De Vries in the AlphaTauri, so we're going to try and dummy him to the inside best as we can and sweep around the outside of him at the Parabolica. Definitely cost myself a bit of time because I went a tiny bit deep compared to how I would have wanted to be, and that is going to allow Carlos Sainz to catch us a little bit. A few more cars coming in, including Verstappen in the Aston Martin. I think that he is going to be behind Sainz though, so if I don't have to worry about Verstappen, if I don't have to worry about Sainz, I don't have to worry about Verstappen either. Although Sainz did catch me by over a second on that last lap, and indeed on this lap again he's caught me by around a second. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see a little bit of an attack from him at a later stage in this Grand Prix. For the time being though, we don't have to worry about this, as a few more cars have pitted now, including Oscar Piastri, who was about 10 seconds ahead of us when I came into the pits, and the 3 laps that passed by in between then have allowed me to cut the gap down to just 3 seconds, if you can believe it, and indeed it's now closer to 2 seconds as we make our way to the end of lap 15. A few more cars coming into the pits, including Alex Albon, who of course I was racing with prior to my pit stop, and you can see that he is a long way off us now. He's going to be behind Sainz, but also behind Jack Doohan, and I think a few more cars that were sort of in that area before the pit stop phase. So Carlos Sainz really is our biggest threat now. Looking on at Dennis Hauger, and you can see that he is running in around the fringes of the points. No idea what was going on there. I think that was Albon exiting the pits. He's caught Dennis Hauger completely off guard, and that is Dennis Hauger out of the race, smashing up his car for the second time this season. You might remember the Baku incident that he had when he was racing with me, and it won't surprise you very much, I imagine, to see that that has brought out a virtual safety car, and then eventually this is going to be upgraded to a full safety car. So yeah, this full safety car is out, Hauger is out, and that is the race neutralised for a little bit. We're currently running in P5. This has allowed us to catch up to the cars in front, however. The only downside is that it's allowed the cars behind to catch up to me, so we're going to have to see whether we can put in some absolutely textbook defending from whoever we have to defend from for the last 10 laps here, because I know that my pace is not that strong, especially not compared to these guys. You know, these guys are the cream of the crop. And, well, it looks like the race has restarted here, and we've actually got the jump on Piastri a little bit. And as we cross the line, the flag goes green. I was going to say the grag goes fleam, but that's definitely not something I should be saying. And, yeah, the flag goes green. We're going to be wheel-to-wheel with Piastri down into turn 1. We brake way too late. We hit the back of Russell, but we've also gone up the inside of his teammate, Sergio Perez, and we're up onto the podium positions now in P3, if you can believe it. Perez has been absolutely mugged there. He's managed to fall behind Piastri, although he does eventually get back past Piastri as well. And we are into a podium position, if you can believe it. I can't believe it, but here we are. Russell has overtaken Leclerc for the lead, and I'm sure Leclerc will be absolutely fuming to see that, you know, he was in a very, very comfortable leading position before the safety car, and now he might not be able to win his team's home race, which I'm sure he would have wanted to. Sergio Perez goes for a move round the outside into the curve of Ascari, and I had absolutely no way of defending from him there. Just way too much pace. It seems like he's got way more downforce than me, but somehow also isn't compromised in a straight line compared to me, so I have no idea how that's happened. But either way, Sergio Perez up into P3, we've fallen off the podium, and now we've just got to try and do what we can to maintain as many positions as we can throughout the final 6 laps of this race. There's still going to be a lot of work we have to do in order to consolidate P4, P5, wherever we end up finishing. I don't know. We brake too deep into the first corner once again. I just can't seem to get it right anymore. It was going so well for me in practice and in qualifying, but as soon as I get into the race itself, it's an entirely different scenario. It's way more stressful, and, well, it really is a question of who will sink and who will swim. And at the moment, I am sinking down the order as Carlos Sainz has overtaken me as well, and we're going to have to try and stay with him as close as we can as we come on the run down to the Parabolica before we start lap 22, and we're going to have to try and see if we can overtake him using some DRS. I actually thought about going for a move up the inside at the Parabolica. I don't know what the hell I was thinking there, because that was never going to work out. But if anything, all that's done is compromised me and decrease the likelihood of me actually pulling off the overtake in a position where I would be able to overtake him. We dummy him to the inside, we pull to the outside, and we're going to try and go around the outside of him into the chicane. Once again, that means we get the inside at the exit of the chicane, and we are through and up into P4 once again. But all this battling, all that's doing is allowing the top 3 to get further and further away. Leclerc has retaken the lead, Russell is down into P2, and Sergio Perez is currently the final driver on the rostrum at the moment, running in P3. So we'll see how the rest of this race unfolds. We are going to have another driver retiring from the race, and this is Logan Sargent in the Haas. The American driver in the American team will be out of the race. That was so bad. I don't know what I was trying to achieve with that. But yeah, in any case, it's over for Logan Sargent, and yeah, we are going to be... nothing's really going to come of that, it seems. You know, it is going to be him out of the race, but it's not going to affect our race in any way, shape or form. I don't imagine there will be a safety car for that, because it's a very independent incident. You know, he's pulled off at a marshal post. It should be very easy for them to clear his car away, and hopefully we can just continue going. It seems like we are going to be coming under a bit of pressure here, because we did not get DRS to anyone on this occasion, and so Jack Doohan is going to be looking for a move up the inside into the first corner, and we brake quite deep, but that actually works to our advantage on this occasion, because it allows us once again to go round the outside of Doohan, switch to the inside for the chicane, and, well, what do they say? It is a case of just hitting the apex when it matters. Although the safety car does eventually come out, and I believe that might have been for some kind of incident at turn 1 or something like that. Nobody's out from it, but yeah, I have no idea why this happened, because I don't think it was related to Logan Sargent. Maybe somebody spun or something at turn 1, and the combination of Sargent being stopped combined with that meant that the safety car got brought out. I'm not sure. In any case, we do eventually come to the end of the safety car, and I'm going to try and see if I can do to Perez what I did to Piastri, and also I guess to Perez on the previous safety car restart, and see if we can make our way through for the podium positions. Once again, there will be no more DRS for the remainder of the race. There's only going to be 2 laps of racing once we get going again, and here we go. Prepare to resume racing. I've flicked the battery. I am pedal to the metal, and we're going to see if we can outdrag Sergio Perez down towards turn 1. We've dummied him as far as we can to the outside, but he's going to switch back to the inside. We're going to switch to the inside of the corner, however, and that's going to give us the outside line this time for the exit of the chicane, and somehow that works as well. I don't know. I guess we're just superior working our way through the chicane. The entry to the chicane, we are so slow compared to everyone else because we have to brake so much earlier just to hit the braking point, as Liam Lawson is out of the session, and we will see what that is for in just a moment. But we are up into the podium positions once again. So here is what happened with Liam Lawson. He was a ways back because not every car had caught the safety car by the time that it restarted, and he actually collided with the back of one of the Mercedes drivers there. Not sure which one that is, but either way, yes, he had a collision with a Mercedes, and that gave him significant damage. They instructed him to retire the car, and that is going to be the end of Liam Lawson's race. And we're getting to the end of our race as well now as we make our way towards the Parabolica on the penultimate lap here. Sergio Perez up the inside. Is he going to go for the overtake? We're going to be wheel to wheel with him through the Parabolica, but he just can't get the exit speed. He actually hits the side of us. Know where I could have gone. I was fully to the outside of the Parabolica there. We are not getting DRS here, of course, because there is no DRS yet. So yeah, defending the position for all I was worth was crucial there. And once again, we just brake so deep into the first corner. We didn't even need to do it on that occasion. You know, we weren't coming under as much of a threat as we have on previous occasions. But yeah, it doesn't matter. We nonetheless are up into P3, and there is probably going to be 1 or 2 more opportunities for Sergio Perez to overtake us now into the Curva Ascari and into the Curva Alboreto, aka the Parabolica. He can't quite get close enough into Ascari, but he is going to be just a couple tenths down on us on the run down to the Parabolica, so I'm going to have to burn all of the battery I possibly can. But we are running out. We don't have very much left. So will we have enough to defend from him? I think we just about will. He's going to go for it up the inside. We're going to be wheel to wheel on the run through, but the outside line just gives me slightly more speed. I've burnt all the battery I have, and it's just about going to be enough to cross the line to take P3. And in this race, we have gone from P14 to P3, up 11 positions to take a podium finish. We've outscored our closest title rivals. It was only Russell and Leclerc who were ahead of us there, and that is a fantastic Grand Prix.
There it is then, victory in the Italian Grand Prix, a historic race and an achievement they can be immensely proud of. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
George Russell, finally, after 15 races at that Red Bull team, he finally has won a race, if I'm not mistaken. I can't think of another occasion where he's won. I know Perez got a couple towards the beginning of the season, but George Russell in the Red Bull, he is finally a race winner for his new team. It will be bittersweet for Charles Leclerc, I'm sure, who definitely would have felt at one point during that race like he had the victory in the bag, but nonetheless, he comes home, he is on the podium in Monza, and we are up there for good measure as well in P3.
So let's see how the drivers' standings have changed. Robinson takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
But there's no question in my mind, it has to go to George Russell. What a performance. He's got every right to be proud of what he accomplished out there today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improved their position in the championship. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, we have reclaimed both P1 in the Drivers' Championship and P3 in the Constructors' Championship after Mercedes have an absolutely shocking weekend. Once again, I think both cars were out of the points there actually in the end. So we have managed to tie them on points, and by countback, due to the fact that we have had one more win as a constructor than they have this season, that means that we have taken over P3 in the Constructors' Championship off Mercedes. You wouldn't think that the teams with the two drivers who were probably best with the best chances to fight for the Drivers' Championship. You wouldn't think that those two teams would be the ones battling over third place in the Constructors, but they are, because both Red Bull and McLaren are ahead of us in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. Not what you would have expected, but I guess Piastri is having a pretty strong season. I'd say he's still in with a fringe chance of fighting for the championship. He's been right there every step of the way, basically, just not quite close enough. He's only had one win this season. That, of course, came at the Belgian Grand Prix last time out. He finally got his first win of the season. This time, George Russell finally getting his first win of the season, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more first-time race winners before the season was over, or at least first time this season, you know what I mean? I could easily see Sainz or Leclerc probably getting a win at some point, maybe even, I'm trying to think who else. Albon, of course, had one when he was in McLaren. 3 different drivers have won for McLaren this season because both Doohan and Piastri have had one as well. Both of the Red Bull drivers have. Obviously, both of the Mercedes drivers have, but one of them was at McLaren at the time. Neither of the Ferraris have. Neither is my teammate Magnussen. Maybe he could grab a victory. I'd say it's unlikely. I think his best finish this season has been 5th. And then apart from that, the only people who I could potentially see, maybe the Alpines have a fringe chance. Maybe Hauger in the Aston Martin. I'd say that's probably unlikely. Speaking of the Aston Martins, actually, Verstappen has really fallen off in this championship. And it's not even like the car has fallen off. It just seems like Verstappen just is not showing up at the moment compared to how he was before. You know, he was out-qualified by Hauger once again in this race. And I don't know if he ended up being... Well, obviously, he wasn't outperformed. Now I say that because Hauger didn't finish the race. But, yeah, Verstappen once again just failing to really have much of an impact in the race weekend. And, you know, somebody who after the first 3 races I thought was maybe finally going to be gunning for that 3rd world championship that he hasn't got in this universe. You know, I just get proven wrong, and Verstappen has just completely fallen off a cliff, and it's looking like it's going to be a first world championship for somebody. Not clear who it's going to be. It might be me, might be Norris, might be Piastri, could even be Perez, but I don't think it's going to be anyone who's already won one by the looks of things. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how the remainder of the season unfolds. Like I said, comment down below who you think I should sign to get the gears turning a little bit for my teammate for the following season. And I believe next up is Singapore, which hopefully that can go reasonably well, maybe as well as this race, and then we'll be really fighting for the championship. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.